Tonight we begin with a revelation that Western intelligence had suspected, tracked, and finally confirmed, a secret that unfolded not over years, but was exposed in hours. Hours that shattered the Kremlin's carefully constructed narrative. Hours that humiliated Putin on the world stage. Hours that proved everything Moscow told the Russian people was a lie. What Putin hid from his own nation crossed a line that Zelenskyy refused to let stand. And when that deception was uncovered, Ukraine did not hesitate. They responded with evidence, precision, and devastating truth. For months now, there had been whispers, not official reports, not intelligence briefings, just whispers that Putin was hiding something catastrophic from the Russian public. The Kremlin has been deceptive, yes, but they have been systematic in their deception. Their propaganda has followed a certain pattern, a discipline, almost a predictability. But what set off alarm bells in Kyiv this week was that the pattern cracked. Intelligence analysts who monitor Russian state media know the indicators. The sudden disappearance of certain military units from official reports, the unusual silence about specific battlefield sectors, the abrupt reassignment of military commanders, the sudden changes in casualty reporting methodology, all of that shifted dramatically. And whenever the Kremlin changes its propaganda pattern, it means something is being buried. Early Wednesday, Ukrainian intelligence released what they described as intercepted communications and satellite evidence, including documentation that had not been made public in the entire 3 years of war. These are the kinds of materials that Ukraine only releases when they are exposing something devastating, massive casualties, command failures, or systemic lies. Western analysts didn't know which category this fell into, or whether it fell into all three. But what they did know was that Putin's official narrative was collapsing. And when a dictator's story falls apart publicly, even slightly, the world pays attention. The evidence released by Zelenskyy tonight was not ordinary. It was not speculation. It was not propaganda. It was documented proof. Sources, after reviewing the materials, described Putin's hidden truth as devastating, undeniable, and perhaps most importantly, impossible to spin. But cover-ups only work if no one has proof. Zelenskyy had proof. In fact, his revelation today was among the most damaging we've seen to Kremlin credibility. Here's what we know. Within hours of the evidence release, international media picked up the story. These weren't minor discrepancies. These were fundamental contradictions, documentation that Ukraine only publishes when they are prepared to destroy a narrative completely. Tonight, Ukrainian officials confirmed that Zelenskyy authorized the release of intercepted data on Russian operations, including casualty figures that directly contradict everything Moscow has publicly claimed. Ukraine exposed the truth before the Kremlin could prepare a counter-narrative. They revealed hidden troop losses. They revealed failed operations reported as victories. They revealed commanders lying to Putin himself about battlefield realities. In other words, Zelenskyy targeted the foundation of Putin's domestic support. The lie that Russia is winning, this is what made the revelation so powerful. Putin's propaganda wasn't just misleading, it was provably false. It represented the kind of deception that could fracture Russian public support if widely known. And Zelenskyy, understanding that fully, responded with truth, not recklessly, not impulsively, but strategically. He didn't release unverified claims. He didn't make emotional accusations. He presented intercepted communications. He presented satellite verification. And here's where the story becomes even more significant. Analysts now believe that Putin's deception was designed to maintain domestic support after months of stalled military progress. Putin wanted Russians to believe victory was inevitable, but instead, the opposite is now visible. Zelenskyy didn't let the lie stand. He launched an information offensive that was so documented, so undeniable, that even Russian military bloggers noticed you don't crack the Kremlin's information wall easily. But today, Zelenskyy did. Defense officials, speaking with Western media, described Putin's hidden losses as catastrophic, a way to avoid admitting strategic failure. But Ukraine proved today that they possess both the intelligence and the willingness to expose it. Remember, Putin thought his propaganda was untouchable. He thought Western attention would fade. He thought his own people would never learn the truth. But tonight, the exact opposite is happening. Evidence is spreading across social media. Russian independent journalists are amplifying the findings, and the Kremlin's official story lies in ruins. What makes this moment so critical and so dangerous is that Putin's deception was exposed at a time when he is under immense pressure. Hardliners want escalation. Moderates want a face-saving exit. The Russian public wants answers. And military families want truth about their sons. Putin is balancing these demands while his lies collapse publicly. And when dictators in that position are exposed, they don't respond with humility. They respond with desperation. They respond with aggression. As the night continues, we expect more details to emerge about exactly what Putin was hiding. But what we do know is that Zelensky's move was timely. It shattered Kremlin credibility. It armed the Russian opposition with truth. And it reminded the world that Ukraine fights with more than weapons. What happens next will depend on how Moscow responds in the coming days. If they retreat into silence, this moment will be remembered as a turning point. If they escalate, Ukraine has already shown they are prepared. They have shown they are ready for whatever comes next. And tonight, for the first time in months, the Kremlin appears to be scrambling. Moscow is quiet, too quiet. And when Putin is quiet, it means he is calculating. It means he is choosing his next move carefully. Because tonight, Putin learned something he has learned before. Lies eventually collapse. Truth eventually surfaces. And Zelenskyy will ensure the world sees it. This story is far from over. But tonight, one thing is clear. Putin's darkest secret is no longer hidden. The Kremlin's lies have been exposed, and Ukraine stands victorious in the battle for truth. And we will be here watching every detail as the next chapter unfolds.